Welcome back. Elected officials and local economic and clean energy leaders came together Thursday, calling on congressional delegates to protect federal funding assisting Broome County's transition to clean energy. 12 News' Daniel Curran learned the significance of this funding.
State leaders spoke Thursday with members of the Climate Action Campaign to highlight the importance of federal funds being used to make the Southern Tier a hub for clean energy innovation. With potential funding freezes affecting the EPA, Assemblywoman Donna Lupardo raised concerns that some of the progress to bring clean energy jobs back to Broome County could be halted.
The point of the Build Back Better funds that we got in this community was to position the United States and right here in the Southern Tier as an important player. And we've come a very long way, and we do not intend to go backwards in this important work.
Adam Flint with the Network for a Sustainable Tomorrow says his organization had to scale back an incoming workforce development program as a result of these potential funding cuts.
The money was all going to be appropriated, and it was going to create a great deal of activity and a great deal of economic growth and many jobs. And right now, that's just not happening.
With new projects like battery innovation at Binghamton University with New Energy New York and the recently announced expansion of BAE Systems, leaders say this funding could be crucial for the rebirth of the local economy.
We want to make sure that low and moderate income residents of the state of New York can enjoy all of the benefits of the clean energy economy, both being able to get those benefits at home, but also getting those jobs.
Local leaders are calling on congressional delegates on both sides of the political aisle to protect this funding and reaffirm Broome County's commitment to clean energy jobs. Daniel Curran, 12 News, Broome County.
And Representative Josh Riley issued a statement saying, quote, "Until greedy corporations shipped our jobs overseas, upstate New Yorkers built the things the world needed to meet its biggest challenges. Federal legislation like the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act, and the CHIPS and Science Act promises to restore upstate manufacturing, creating thousands of good, clean energy jobs. I'm not going to let a bunch of politicians who don't know the first thing about upstate New York rip that away," end quote.